Gosh, we could have said all kinds of things and it wouldn't have been recorded. Mike, I'll let you start your introduction and go. And I'm going to go to audio, turn it off, the microphone. Have I got my headset on? And even if I get up and go grab a drink or something, I can still hear you. So uh, take it away. I muted you, by the way.
Okay, thank you, Huey. This is the Central Florida Computer Society's Social Club main meeting of November 10th, 2024. I'm Mike Ungerman. I'm the chairman of the coordination committee for the Social Club. And as many of you know, we have dissolved the corporation and we are continuing on with our primary services. I'm going to very quickly share my screen before our presenter and this is our website for those that haven't seen it before. It's a simple landing page for the Central Florida Computer Society with the features that we are presently providing our members and anyone that would like to join us, whether you consider yourself a member or not. Still have a link to information on our past president, Stan Warner, who passed away suddenly, and we were very sorry for his loss, but there is a nice video up with a remembrance of his time with the Central Florida Computer Society and with his family. We are using a Discord bulletin board system for social interaction and club coordination. If you don't know what Discord is, you can actually go to discord.com. It will tell you, but just think of an old-fashioned bulletin board. And if you don't have an account, you can set a free one up there. And if you do have a membership now, but are not yet on our BBS, or if you've just set your account up, you can come to this link, which changes weekly, and you can join the bulletin board system. All of our meetings, like the two meetings we're having today, are archived on YouTube at the Central Florida Computer Society playlist. And you can go directly to those if there's any you'd like to watch that you've missed. And we've just had our WinSig, but I mentioned earlier in our discussions that if you are representing a user group and would like have other people join us, go to huey.net, scroll all the way down, and you'll find a form where you can get on the mailing list for the newsletter and then get links every month for these meetings. So we are doing our main meeting now, immediately following the WinSig. And on the fourth Tuesday of each month, we have a TechSig, which is just basically an extended Q&A system. And if you would like to get an invitation to this CFCS TechSig, join our Google group by sending an email to this acrimonious, anyway, to this link, which is using slmail.me, which is a great lead in to what Drew is going to be talking about. But it's a way to have unique email addresses. So if you send an email to this, then I will reply and we'll add you to our Google group. And I actually did process one of those today. So I will stop sharing. And we like to do homegrown presentations where we can. And Drew has agreed to be one of our major contributors to the Central Florida Computer Society Social Club and is very active on Discord, as I am. And we got discussing how can we use various different email systems to categorize our emails and to, in some cases, hide the origin of who's actually sending and receiving those, especially when you think you might have spammers, but you need to respond for some reason. Or you just want to set up a group of email addresses and then filter them with the filters that come with your email system. So with that as a lead in, Drew, I'm not sharing my screen, share your screen and take over.
Okay. Let me click here. Screen one. So, let me get the video box off onto my second screen. There we go. All right, this is a discussion about email aliases and email masking, and a way for you to consolidate those 20 different Gmail accounts into one or two, and still have all different kinds of email addresses. An email alias can be considered is a form of email masking. Both techniques involve creating alternate email addresses to protect your primary email address. However, there are some differences. An email alias are additional email addresses that forward messages to your main email account, and you can create and manage them manually and do often include recognizable patterns or names. A lot of companies may have support at Microsoft.com. That's an alias, and when it gets to Microsoft's mail server, the mail server will then determine who actually receives a copy of the email that's going to support at Microsoft.com. And email masking is a little bit better than email aliasing, and I'll show you a demonstration of Google's email aliasing and why it's not as good as using a masked email address. A truly masked email address is one that prevents anybody from knowing what your real mailbox is. And in some cases, they are randomly generated, and not necessarily something that will be obvious for somebody to guess. Both methods help reduce spam and protect your privacy. And masking, at least in the system that I'm using, you're allowed to send email from your alias address as well as receive. With some alias addresses, like let's say you do have support at Microsoft.com. Well, if you're John Smith at Microsoft, how do you reply to somebody, from your desktop computer? How do you reply as though you were support at Microsoft? And they have ways of doing that in the Microsoft server. But if you have an alias and only an alias, it's difficult, or if not impossible, to just send an email and have it come from that alias address. Now, what is a Gmail email alias? And I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to give you a little demonstration of what a Gmail alias is. But it's an alternate email address that's associated with your primary Gmail account. And it allows you to send and receive emails from an address other than your primary address without creating a new Gmail account. And the benefits of using an email alias is it allows you to categorize mail, like newsletters, social notifications, promotions, things that are related to work. With the advent of AI, more and more websites are popping up, and you might want to subscribe. You might find yourself subscribing to 10 or 15 different, AI websites and newsletters and things. And you don't necessarily want to give all of these projects your primary mailbox. You may want to segment them out into an alias so that if for some reason you get spam coming to you, it's not coming to your primary email address, it's coming to the alias. And if it's coming to an alias, you can then sort those mails out and get rid of them. So it's a way of organizing all of the mail that comes in to your house, to your mailbox. And it gives you privacy. I'm going to be handing out at the very end an email address for any of you who want to ask follow-up questions of me, and it's a masked email address, and that will come to me. And now, how do you set up a Gmail alias? Um, it's very simple. If you want to be able to send as an email alias, you have to go into your accounts. You open up Gmail, and in the upper right-hand corner will be a little gear icon. And you want to then click on that and select all settings. And then you want to go to accounts and import. And I'll go through this with you for live. And then send mail as, enter the details. If the alias is something that's not associated with your Gmail account, it will send an email to that alias and verify for verification purposes that it's a real email address. If what you're doing is setting up an alias of your Gmail, then there's no need to verify it. The limitations of doing it through Google is that it's a single user only. You're the only one able to receive email at your alias. You can't have an email address that goes to you and everyone else in your family. Um, and so it can be used for temporary projects, business roles, and privacy. The second thing that what you can do in Gmail, and you don't require to set up anything in advance, is to set up an email alias with a plus sign or a period. And some people may, if you have a Gmail account and don't know about this, let's say, for example, my email address was Drew@Gmail. I could put in a plus sign and then followed by any text that I want at gmail.com. Or I could put in a period anywhere in my name, and it will also just magically appear in my Gmail inbox. So Drew plus any text at Gmail is a valid email address for the mailbox Drew@Gmail. And when I get mail, I can then set up an inbox rule that says any mail that is sent to, for example, I have down here, I created an alias called your name at Macy's. Let's say you signed up for a new credit card at Macy's, and you want to assign a unique email address for your Macy's account. I could put in Drew plus Macy's at gmail.com and have Macy's send all of their mail to that address rather than Drew at Gmail. Now I have a way of managing the mail that comes to me from Macy's. And if Macy's were to get compromised and their database gets hacked, or they start sending me email that I don't want, or somebody else, a third party that they sell the mailing list goes to, starts sending me emails, I have a way of segmenting those emails out. I can redirect them to a folder. I can delete them. I can do anything I want with them because they're going to a unique address. And if I give out my real email address to absolutely everybody, I have no control over spam that comes into my mailbox. The benefits is that, obviously is organization and privacy. And here's another example: your name plus newsletter at Gmail, or you can have work email or social media email, and you can segment it out into different. On Gmail, they don't call them folders; they call them labels. But you could labelize your different mail so that all of your AI newsletters go into a folder. All of your work email goes into another folder. Um, and this is just a duplicate, I think. And secondary to Gmail aliases is a way of doing masking. And I came across a company that's called Email Monster, and they have a free service and they have a paid service, like a lot of companies do. The free service is perfectly adequate for most everybody. Um, and it allows you to create email addresses that are really truly unique, that nobody can guess what your real email is. And I'm going to switch to my browser tab now and show you. First, I'm going to show you in Gmail clicking on the gear icon and going into all settings and then clicking on accounts. Down here is where is the send mail as section. And I can add new email addresses. And like, for example, I created some aliases here and add another email address. I can, if I want to, I will, whoops, I can make my name whatever I want. And I can have my email address be, it has to be, in this case, that's the first half of the email address. And then I put in a plus sign. And then I can put in CFCS meeting at gmail.com and say the next step. And it's going to just put it in here. And now I have a new alias called CFCS, and the valid email address that will receive email is Leo Anchor DDD plus CFCS meeting at Gmail. And if I go in and I click on the compose button, I will have the ability to go down here and select CFCS meeting at Gmail as the from address. So now if I were to send mail to Huey, it would come from CFCS, would be the name in the from list, and it would be at this Gmail account. Now, the reason why this is good is it allows me to send mail from an alias as well as receive mail from an alias. What's bad about it is it's not masked. And the reason that it's not masked is because anybody that knows this system or technique can simply delete the plus sign and the CFCS meeting, and that email address is now my real Gmail address. So it's not protecting you from getting spam or anyone from sending you mail to your real address if they want to. So it's not as good as doing some other methods. If I go to Email Monster, this is my Email Monster account, and I created a login to here, and I created a subdomain called Doodles. And I have a golden doodle, so I just chose the word Doodles. And you can see I have at the very top here, free Woody1 at doodles.eml.monster. I've received 10 emails, and the most recent one was 6 days ago. And there is a newsletter called Ask Woody. And I subscribed to the Ask Woody newsletter using Email Monster rather than giving it my real email address. And every email that gets delivered to freewoody1 at doodles.eml.monster will land in my mailbox. And if I click on senders, you'll see that 6 days ago, I got an email from free newsletter at askwoody.com. And what's nice about this dashboard here is that if I start receiving unwanted mail from to an alias, I can simply turn this alias off. If I switch this to the off position, they're now going to throw away all mail sent to freewoody1 at doodles.eml.monster, and nothing is going to land in my personal mailbox. I don't have to hit unsubscribe. I don't have to do anything. They're just gone. If I have an email alias and I have multiple people sending me email to that alias, I can disable just one. If I disable this one here, that will prevent free newsletter at askwoody.com from sending me mail, but it's not going to stop other people from sending mail to the alias that I have. It just stops this. So if I were getting mail from somebody else other than Ask Woody to this alias, it would be in this list and I could shut them off. One thing that I can't do from this system is send email from any of these addresses. I created an email address down here for my dog, Carrie, and she'll have her own Facebook account, and I don't have to set up a private email box for her. I just have her here in my alias list. And Facebook doesn't need to know that Carrie's mailbox is the same mailbox as my mailbox. Nobody does. And you can create as many of these aliases as you want for free. But again, you can't send email as if though you were Carrie at doodles.eml.monster. Now, if you combine this system with another system, you can get around that limitation. If I go back into my Gmail and I set up another email alias, I can put in Carrie at doodles.eml.monster and as my alias address, and it will send an email to Carrie asking for confirmation that it's real. Once I verify that it's real, it'll appear in this list. Now, from my Gmail account, I can send email as though I'm Carrie. So I'm taking a free service here that doesn't offer the ability to send email as though I'm any one of these, and combining it with Gmail. So if I were to take this email address, and copy it, and then say add another address, and I'm going to put in Carrie as the name, and put in the email address, carrie@doodles.email.monster. And if I say next step, it's going to want the it's going to want the SMTP server name and the username and password to send mail through Email Monster. And I have to be able to have permission to do that. And unfortunately, you need a paid account to take advantage of that. So this particular function doesn't work as well as you would like it to, because they don't provide an SMTP server for you to use. And I haven't found a way of getting around that. So this is basically a free service that I would suggest using as a free service only and not paying them any money. And in this case, you can't send as though you are. Now, if I go back to my presentation slides, I'm going to talk to you about the next product and company that I work with, and that's called Simple Login. And Simple Login is a company that's an offshoot from a company called Proton that makes Proton Mail. It's an open source company based in Switzerland, and they process a lot of mail. And Simple Login, I will show you next, and I don't have any slides on it, but I'm going to show you the Simple Login system. And that is here. And I have actually a paid. Simple Login has both free account and a paid account. The difference between the free account and the premium account that I have is that you are limited to 10 aliases as a free user. So I can create up to 10. I've got more than 10 in here. I've got quite a few. And you have the ability to create subdomains and mailboxes, and I'll cover these in a minute. The subdomains and mailboxes are for premium users. The aliases listed as here are up to 10 for free and unlimited for the paid account. And the paid account is $30 for a year. And I found it to be useful enough for me to warrant paying the $30 for the year. They offer a browser plugin. So, for example, if I went to the Ask Woody free newsletter page, you'll see that on the sign up page for the Ask Woody newsletter is this little icon. This icon is a simple mail browser plugin feature. And if I click here, it's going to randomly generate an email for me. And it created one called likely_revenge 623 at doodles.simplemail.login. If I go to the end here, yeah, it created a random email alias called likely revenge 623. And that's just what it picked. And if I go to my alias page and refresh, it should show here it is, likely revenge 623 at doodles is a new alias that it just got created. Now I have control over that alias. I can turn it off. I can delete it. If I want to permanently delete it, I can get rid of it completely. One of the nice features is it has this button called Contacts. Contacts is only available in the paid version of Simple Login. And if I click on Contacts, I can put in your email address. Actually, no. I put in your email contact address, and it will create what's called a reverse alias address. So if I were to put in anybody's address, Drew at Gmail, I'll do Drew at gmail.com. It's fake, but it's not a real address. And I say create the reverse alias. It's going to now give me this button here called create reverse alias, copy reverse alias. So if I want to send email to Drew at Gmail as though it was coming from likely revenge 623, I just copy this reverse address and paste it into my email. I would then go into here and say compose a new message and send it to it looks as though it's let me make sure. Yeah, it's hidden. You can't really read the whole thing, but it there now you can see it. Drew at Gmail ASQCX at simplelogin.co. And when I do that, it's going to not send the mail directly from Gmail to you. It's going to send the mail to Simple Login. Simple Login is going to say, oh, this is an email reverse alias, and I'm supposed to send it out. S23 plus. Oops, that was my speaker, my Miss A speaker. So if I were to send an email to Drew, it would appear as though it came from Likely Revenge 623. My real email address and my mailbox are completely hidden. And if Drew were to send me an email and I receive it, what's nice is it's going to go through Simple Login and land in my inbox of choice. It could be a Gmail account. It could be my King Consulting email address. It could be Yahoo. It could be Microsoft. It's not tied to any particular email provider. And what else? There was lost my train of thought here. So if I wanted, so this Ask Woody newsletter is using Likely Revenge 623. If I wanted to click on this button instead, I have a choice. It says that it created an alias already called Likely Revenge, but I can create one that's more to my liking. And the first one that it suggested here was Ask Woody at doodles.simplelogin.com, which makes more sense to me than Likely Revenge 623. Likely Revenge 623, I'm not likely to remember that. I will remember Ask Woody at doodles.simplelogin because that's my domain. I own doodles.simplelogin.com. And so if I sign up for a newsletter, last week I went shopping for the first time in a long time at a store called Lowe's. And when I got to the register asked me if I would like an email copy of my receipt. So instead of giving it any of my real email addresses, I typed into the screen the word Lowe's at doodles.simplelogin.com. And they sent an email to Lowe's at doodles.simplelogin.com. And Simple Login received that email and said, "Hey, I know about Doodles and it belongs to Drew." And they forward now any email in my alias list. If I look at my aliases, somewhere in here is one called Lowe's. Oh, I created Roosters. I have another domain called Roosters. Um, I have an email alias called Lowe's at roosters.simplelogin.com. And it was last used 5 days ago. Send me a receipt. And this is a description box just to help you keep track of what the aliases are for. But I know what Lowe's is for, is used for. And if I wanted to say, for example, I created Drew at Doodles as a static email address for me to have as another email address. And Ask Leo is another newsletter that I subscribe to. Seabreeze Computers is another company that I do business with. Washington Post newspaper. So I create different aliases for different organizations. We often preach to people in password managers to give all of your websites that you log onto a unique password and a strong password. Well, now that I have access to Simple Login and the premium account, and I'm not restricted to the 10 free ones, I make a point to signing up for all new websites with not just a unique password, but a unique email address as well. And what's nice is I subscribe to a product from TechSmith called Snagit. And if I need to send tech support an email, they have an alias address for me. So I need to be able to send email to them asking for tech support. Well, I can do that from Simple Login. I can create an email address in here that I could then send tech support an email and say, please help me. And it's coming from the address that I signed up with, even though I didn't sign up with the address that is my real mailbox. Now, in the subdomain section, earlier today, I created a subdomain called CFCS 111024 at Simple Login. This is now a valid email address, an email subdomain. And in this subdomain, I've said it's a catch-all, meaning that anything at all at CFCS 1110 is a valid address. And in my presentation notes, I created contact Drew at this address, CFCS masking at doodles.simplelogin.com. So if any of you want to write this email address down, I can't copy and paste it from here because this is a slide. But if you send an email to CFCS masking at doodles.simplelogin.com after the meeting with a question about email aliasing or masking, that will come to me and I can respond to it, and I'll know why that mail came to this address because it was a question from this meeting. And getting back to here, so subdomains, I have CFCS I created today, roosters and doodles. Are domains that I created that nobody else at Simple Login or anyone else in the world can have. And I can create as many aliases as I want. If I go back to the alias and I say new custom alias, I can choose Doodles or CFCS or Developer 3 or Roosters, or I can use any one of these others that Simple Logon has provided to me. Some of them are public domains. So if you have a free account, you can set up Frosted 454 at slmails.com as an alias address. Anybody can do that. And then in here, you'll see that I have two mailboxes, one for King Consulting, King Drew at King Consulting, and one is DKing65 at King Consulting. I can decide which mailbox, or both mailboxes, if I so choose, for these email to be delivered to. So this, if you send me email to that address, it's gonna be forwarded to King Drew at kingconsulting.us. And King Drew at kingconsulting.us is actually forwarded from my domain to Google. It's actually, my inbox is actually on Gmail. I don't pay the domain provider for mailbox space. I use the free Gmail account so I get more mail for free. So email that comes from King Drew at King Consulting is actually being routed through Gmail. And it's the same for this one as well. Under mailboxes is where I created that. This is a real mailbox for me, and this is a real mailbox. These have to be real. I can go in here and put in another mailbox that I want to have if I had a third one for it to send to. But say, for example, Huey, as an example, does a lot of work with AI. And over the course of time, he's signed up for more than 3 or 4 different AI websites. He could set up an alias address and then decide which one of his real mailboxes he would like to have that mail delivered to. And he could have it delivered to Huey at Huey's primary email address, or he could have it go to a Gmail mailbox, or it doesn't matter. And you can have as many of them as you want. If you want to, and this requires more involvement than I want to be involved in terms of setting up a domain. You can add your domain and create aliases such as hi at mydomain.com. So, like for example, I own the domain King Consulting. I could move that domain to Simple Login and then create as many email aliases and subdomains of that domain that I want, and not pay, in my case, GoDaddy for additional mailboxes. I can have 5 or 10 mailboxes and really only have them all consolidated down into one mailbox that I actually receive my mail in. So that's aliases, subdomains, and mailboxes. Um, at this point, does anybody have any questions?
One comment, Drew. You had mentioned that Simple Login is a member of the Proton family. I use Proton Mail and I pay for the premium service. They've got 5 or 6 different plans, but any of their paid plan include the cost that Drew mentioned of $30 a year. It's included in those Proton Mail plans at no additional charge. So if you're thinking of getting a secure alternative mail system, I just happened to make it my primary one once I found out how good it was. The simple login comes as a free service, so that's saving another $30. But there's so many ways to use simple login. If you weren't going to use Proton Mail and you were going to use Gmail, the $30 in order to get that kind of masking and also to get the free categorization and the multiple addresses seems to me to be very worth that price.
Yeah, I think it's a fair price for what they give you. They give you the dashboard that you're logging into in a browser as a way of managing your system. They have a browser plugin, and it will attempt to create an alias. You can create a random alias, or you can manage aliases that you've recently created. I can go in and manage them. If I want to send an email from this address, I can click over here. It's very handy to have in your browser all of your aliases. And if Gmail were my primary mailbox, if I were using Gmail as my primary mail in a browser, I can simply click here and then choose who I want to send mail from and do it right in the browser, which is nice. And one thing that Mike just mentioned that I forgot to cover was security and privacy. Proton Mail provides PGP encryption for their mailboxes. So if I were to send mail to Mike on the mail server at Proton, that mail is encrypted so that only Mike can read it. You know, it's the Proton company can't read his mail. Whereas, like, if you have a standard Gmail account, Gmail can read any of your mail, all of your mail. If you would rather them not have the ability to read your mail, you can set up a free PGP key. And Simple Login supports email encryption. And for example, if I go into the subdomain that I created today, oops, not here. Oops, that is, let me recorrect myself here. Let me go into the aliases. Now, I created CFCS masking at Doodles today. If I go into contacts and I create a reverse address, it will give me the option to edit it and put in a PGP key, a pretty good privacy. And this is a topic for another meeting. Email encryption can be a separate meeting topic. Anyway, if you know what PGP encryption is, it's a way of encrypting mail between two people and doing complete end-to-end email encryption. Simple login gives you what is the next best option, which is to have all of the mail coming to you encrypted. I happen to own not own, but I created my own PGP public key. And if I pasted that in here, all mail sent to CFCS masking at Doodles would land in my mailbox encrypted with that public key. So that right now I have all of my aliases by default are encrypted with PGP. So anything that lands in my mailbox is encrypted, and so no one can read my mail. So that's something that Simple Login adds to your email masking capability that you don't have with Email Monster, and you don't have with a lot of other places. Is you can without I don't you don't have to send me or set up on your end email encryption. All you have to do is attempt to send me an email. Anyone that sends email to this email address here will get encrypted by default because I've set it up in the Simple Login account. I've given it my PGP key. So it knows to automatically encrypt everything. And in the contact list, you can see in here, it's optional to put it in. I can't hit save because there's nothing there. But you can, in the subdomains, I believe, turn off and turn on the PGP. I'm not putting myself on the hook right now. I'm going to stop talking about PGP for another meeting. Does anybody else have any further questions? None? Zero?
Why don't you stop sharing your screen? We'll bring up the chat windows and see if we've got any questions for you.
Or we go over here and click on stop sharing. And poof.
Okay. Great presentation. I know that's a lot of material to absorb with the fire hose treatment, but
yeah, that was I kind of covered a lot.
Yeah, it was good to go through it, especially the easiest for anybody is just to put a plus sign after your name and put in some word that makes sense to you if you're using Gmail, which is free, and use it for categorization, or use it to cut down on spam, or use it to identify newsletters, things along those lines. Steve.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but I was getting dizzy trying to follow all that. I mean, geez. Is it really worth going to that extreme?
I think, well, you start out easy. I mean, I used to use multiple mailboxes in Yahoo back when it was offered, and I actually paid for that. And you had your primary Yahoo address, and then you could have, subdomains of that address. And it really helped me back when I was a Yahoo user. It really helped me categorize and filter stuff. When Gmail came out, the only thing they offered were labels, and they did not have that ability to put a plus sign with your name initially. You could still do filters and filter on the subject or filter on an incoming address. And then they added that as an additional feature. So it was very easy just to say MikeU18 plus CFCS at gmail.com and use that as my address for anything that I signed up from that CFCS was going to send me.
Have you come across any sites where you have to put in an email address and it wouldn't let you put in the plus sign?
I have.
Have you?
Yeah, so have I.
Okay.
Yes, I've come across that where some companies, even though the plus sign is technically a valid character, some websites will automatically say, no, we don't permit that.
And that's where masking comes in. So
Yeah, that's when I use
this
the
avoids, both
Proton email.
Email Monster and Simple Login will both you don't need the plus sign. So and one thing I forgot to show you guys that was the Simple Login has an Android app in the Google Play App Store. I don't know if they have one in the Apple Store. And that will enable you to manage your aliases and send and receive email from your alias from your mobile phone.
Yep. Huey.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I use Outlook, and I have an Outlook.com address,
Hmm.
which is the same as a Hotmail account. If you got Hotmail, you used to be able to use an alias with Outlook.com. And I just asked Chat GPT, or not Chat GPT, but uh, Copilot how to do it, and it gave me directions at how I remember doing it. But the newest version of Outlook doesn't have that, so it didn't work. But so I'm not sure why, and if there is a way in Outlook now to do it, but there used to be a way to create aliases in Outlook if you had an Outlook account or a Hotmail account. And it may be that because I'm using the new Outlook, and if I go back to the old Outlook, it may work. Another thing is, many years ago, I had signed up for a service. It was called OneBox, and I had an email account on it, and that allowed me to have any alias I wanted to on the fly, and automatically would send it to my the account that I had with it. And then it allowed me actually to create uh, a domain using that. So I went ahead and created the domain, and they went out of business. But what they did do, or they got combined with Gmail, and it still kind of worked with Gmail, but I have to pay if I'm grandfathered in, so I don't have to pay for a Gmail account to use it. So it works out real well. So I can say, okay, my name is Doodles at what my domain is, and it works. I will get any email. I don't even have to, I can just make them up on the fly, whatever I
Right.
want. So if I go to a Woody's email, I can say Woody at in my domain name, and
Hmm.
I would get that email. Uh, if I want to send something, I have to go through some gyrations to create that within the domain. And it allows me to do it, but I have to do a little bit more work, and I don't usually do it that way. But in most cases, when you need to verify an address or something, they just have a button that you click that you received it, and off it goes. So it doesn't matter to me. So there are some ways around it, even using Gmail by having your own domain name and then using the aliases within it.
We didn't even talk about temporary email addresses either, and there's several
Yeah.
companies that offer those.
Yeah, there are websites like if you search Google for temporary mail or 10-minute mail, there's a website that provides
Yeah.
10-minute mail.
And phone
Um,
numbers. You can get them for phone numbers too. So
uh,
you can do a cell phone confirmation text at a telephone number that only exists for 10 minutes, which is kind of neat. Well, we can that can all be subject of future meetings, as you said.
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, we can talk about phone numbers, email mass encryption.
Yeah, all kinds.
Spoofing.
We can put people to sleep real easy too. Okay, well,
Um,
I hope you all enjoyed this, and this is the type of thing that we would like to do. We'd like to do homegrown type presentations. So if any of you think you've got something that you'd like to talk about, just send me an email, mikeu18@protonmail.com, and I'll probably set up an alias the same way Drew did, so that I'll have a CFCS address that way too. Okay, save your chat if you are a chat saver, although I will forward it with a copy of this video when I stop recording, and I'm about to stop recording now.